We are here because we are dedicated to helping the entire CrossFit community. Determined to elevate coaches, box owners, athletes, and everything in between, we believe that this mission will begin right here, right now. While this time and this goal begins with you, our hope is that you take this fire ignited within you and weave it into your own life with the same unrelenting passion to give those you have the privilege of coming in contact with the best hour of their day.
We appreciate you coming back. You are always requested. You are often misquoted by us, I'm sure.
Yeah, my wife tells me that all the time.
But, you know, there's no better person for these guys, for coaching, for Olympic lifts, and for everything you do. Are you going to be in Madison?
Yes, I am. I will be there.
What will you be doing there?
Well, I'm first of all, I'm doing a course the week before at Mad Dog CrossFit in Madison. Skip and Keisha Benzing have a box there. And so the last couple of years I've done courses before the games. And then I plan on being at the games probably, Monday, Tuesday, and then maybe get into the, doing the Bergner warm up, the live demos, depending on that, however they want to use me. And then I'm going to go back and see my sisters in Southern Illinois. So I'm actually flying into St. Louis, driving to Madison, and then going down to Southern Illinois, and then drive back to St. Louis and fly home.
Very cool. So we have at least one person who's got a local box there. He's not on currently, but I don't think many of you guys are going to the games. Are you? Are any of you coming into town? No. Honest.
My wife won't let me.
No. Jersey Tony, I almost sent you a video yesterday of the baby screaming and saying 1 or 3, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many kids you have. She just wouldn't stop screaming. Coach B, how many siblings do you have?
Siblings, I have 2 sisters. I'm the oldest.
You're the older brother? You have to take
I'm the oldest brother and the boss.
When you were younger, I mean, you grew up, there's probably a lot of hooligans, roughhousing going on. Did you have to protect your little sisters?
I did protect my little sisters from everybody but me.
That's a good way to look at it. All right, well, there's no introduction needed. We know who Coach B is. You guys are excited. Let's put those hands up. Whatever you want to do. Let's have some Q&A with Coach B, please. Wait for you guys. Unless
we're all afraid.
Most of them got a bunch of hands going up. I would say about 50% of the people on the call were on the original one.
Oh, okay.
So, but let's go with Tony UP from Michigan.
All right. Hey, Coach, thanks for joining us again. Jason actually interviewed a guy on the podcast. Was it Zach?
Talander?
Yeah, whatever his last name was.
Yeah.
It was actually a pretty good conversation, but he hated the medicine ball clean as a part of CrossFit foundational movements and teaching people how to clean. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on obviously you like the bar and the barbell, but what are your thoughts on the medicine ball clean, and what is your kind of go-to when you teach people how to do the clean in their first time ever touching a bar?
Yeah, I'm not a real fan of the medicine ball clean either. I just think that with your hands being in this position rather than this position, it can lead to some confusion. However, in the medicine ball clean, the fact that they're after that extension, the using of the legs and the ankle, knee, and hip extension, I think is relevant. I think that can be there and can be used in the CrossFit curriculum. For me, I use PVC pipe for just about everything in the beginning. The Bergner warm-up has a clean variation as well. And I just choose to go that route. Now, that doesn't mean that, that I'm correct. I just, I will not use the medicine ball clean when I'm teaching my beginning athletes, how to how to rack the barbell or do the clean. I don't think there's any carryover other than the extension that you can get. But I'm the guy that also teaches jump. I'm the guy that teaches, speed against speed in the middle and pulling my body down and around the bar. I don't use the term catch. I use the term going to the bar and receiving that bar. So there's a lot of discrepancy there. So I think it would just lead to more confusion if I did use that in my curriculum. Good question. Thank you.
As a note, the person that just asked you that question often corrects me when I say catch. He said,
Jason!
He said, how could you do that? Was that you, Tony UP, right?
Good job, Tony.
Oh, let me ask you a follow-up. Feel free to say, I don't want to discuss it.
Okay.
Did you ever have any kind of headbutting with Coach Glassman about it back in the day when he brought you on?
No, I'm a very respectable Marine. I learned to follow orders when appropriate. So, Glassman was my commanding officer. And if I disagreed with him, unless I was asked directly, which I would answer correctly in the way I felt, but very rarely did he ask me that. He knew how I felt, basically. So, no, we never had any headbutts. He was the boss, and I just followed orders.
So you've probably answered that question a few times at the Olympic lifting seminars where people would.
Yeah, they want to know what the hell's going on. And, I just kind of, shake my head.
Yeah.
It's just part of the CrossFit curriculum. So
Gotcha.
just the way it is.
Gotcha. Going back to the Bergner warm-up, is there anything now in retrospect that you would have done differently, realizing how it's going to take off and how affiliates around the world are going to use that as their way to develop the Olympic lifts?
No, because the Bergner warm-up has been used since 1965. I just didn't know it was the Bergner warm-up, right? I mean, so that's kind of the way it evolved. And I don't take any credit for the Bergner warm-up because it was really basically taught to me in parts by my coach, Father Lang, when I was at Notre Dame. And so I was just dumb enough to put all 5 components together, I guess, and then another 5 components together for the skill transfer exercises. But, in 1965, we started using that warm-up, and I used it when I became a public school teacher after I got out of the Marine Corps. That was my go-to curriculum. That was how I taught my kids. And, I was of the old school, the Russian, the Polish methods of vertical hips, keeping the bar close to the body, and the OS pull came into play a little bit later. But in our feelings, we all always had the belief that vertical hips led to the proper bar path in order to be more successful and more efficient in cleaning and snatching.
I see a new T-shirt. I think you should make a Bergner warm-up T-shirt, established 1965. I think all the steps, right? Stick figure steps are not even on the back. Something like, being dumb since 65. I like it. Devin, at the gym today.
Hey, Coach B.
Hey.
Real quick, speaking of the T-shirts, I took the weightlifting level 1 in Charlotte last year. I wish you guys sold T-shirts at the seminars.
Leaving money on the table, Coach B.
Yeah. The other thing, I have a question. So we have 2 athletes who they have good bar path when we start from either high hang or hang,
Right.
But when we move below the knee, they end up sweeping the bar back into their hip and then trying to treat it almost like a kettlebell and
Yeah.
pop it off their hip. Do you have any good drills to stop that pattern?
I do. So what you want to do is from the high hang and the hang, your pathway's appropriate. It's the way it needs to be. So now take it down a step. So you go from the high hang, you go to the mid thigh, and then you go 1 inch below the knees. And then from 1 inch below the knees, you squat the bar up to 1 inch above the knees. And all you're doing is getting the knees out of the way. And what they end up doing, they don't stay over the bar long enough. They go around the knees. That forces them to bring the bar back into the hips. They take away that tension out of the hamstring, and it just screws up their whole bar path. And instead of being in a vertical displacement with slightly leaned back, which allows them to pull themselves under the bar, they end up being in a real, I'm going to go the other direction here, because they're going to a real C pull, end up like that, and they end up swinging the bar outside the least line of resistance. So for me, I work in positions. Stance, grip, and positions are what's needed to be an effective leader, and the basic fundamentals of teaching are stance, grip, and position. So once I got the stance and the grip squared away, and starting from the high hang, I work myself down, and I go to that starting position, and then I go 1 inch above the ground, 1 inch below the knees, 1 inch above the knees, and I really work that 1 inch below to 1 inch above, getting the knees out of the way and keeping that bar a millimeter away from the body. And once that bar goes to mid-thigh, I just tell them to jump like hell, but jump flat-footed, because I want that big toe, little toe heel to be equally distributed against the ground. Bringing the bar into the hips has a tendency to also bring the positioning of the foot into play, where you're on the balls of the foot too soon, and you're not going to get that strong leg drive against the ground that I'm really after. So I've even wrestled with the word pull. I don't necessarily, for me, in my world of catching and receiving, to more adequately describe what I'm after is an absolutely vicious leg drive. So a pull, when you think about pull, what do you think about? Arms pulling. You don't think about leg drive. And that is absolutely going to be, the most important part of your snatch, your clean, and your jerk journey, is learning how to drive hard against the ground to create that acceleration and elevation on the barbell. And going around the knees like that just really screw up that potential leg drive.
Is the scientific term for keeping it close a gnat's ass?
A gnat's ass is exactly the right way to go.
Okay.
Hey, let me show you guys this real quick in our gym.
And then,
have these.
Tony, if you want to have a follow-up, did you want to follow up with that, Jersey Tony, or were you telling me to?
Do you see
I didn't know when he was gonna when Coach was gonna go to the next question. But Coach, before Devin jumps in real quick,
Tony, come on.
Sorry. I'm just going off of that because I'll forget it. But that second pull is where that leg drive is really going to be initiated, correct, Coach?
Yeah. And here's the other thing. The lighter the weight, the less leg drive you need, right? I mean, but you don't want to, bringing that kind of stuff into a beginner is really potentially confusing to them. So that's why I use the word jump, because of the lack of confusion. I mean, a jump is a triple extension. It's an ankle, knee, and hip extension. And that's the critical aspect. So, they don't need to know ankle, knee, and hip extension. What they need to know is that they got to bring the bar from the ground to mid-thigh. When that bar gets to mid-thigh, then you jump that barbell, creating acceleration and elevation on the barbell, keeping it a gnat's ass from the body, keeping it in the right bar path.
I love it. Devin, what was your follow-up, Devin?
I was going to show, we actually have all the Bergner stuff drawn up.
Nice.
And it says a gnat's bum. No.
You gotta.
Evan, I love that. Good job, brother.
Coach B is R-rated. You gotta PG it up.
Yeah. My wife keeps telling me that, but I don't. Honest to God, my mouth just gets in the way.
Jason.
Hey, Coach B, good to see you again.
Good seeing you, Jason.
2 questions for you. Devin actually kind of brought one up. I was thinking about in relation to positioning. How do you work with athletes that, say, if you're trying to teach those positions where anatomy is getting in the way? Let's say if it's a pregnant athlete, overweight athlete, or someone larger chest anatomy gets in the way of a nice vertical bar path. Obviously, there's only so much you can do there, and I'm curious how you go about Yep, nailed it, Tony. How you go about working with that? And then I got another totally unrelated question.
Yeah, well, there's always going to be different anatomical, people that you have. You're going to have long limbed people. You're going to have short limbed, long torsos, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The bottom line is that I want to be as perfect as I can be. So, the old adage where I draw that line on the toes, and the lines on the toes creates the area of the base. And even if I have a pregnant athlete or big booby athlete in there, I can keep that bar within the area of the base. And if it ends up going outside the area of the base, then they're bringing the bar into the hips or below the belly, and they end up pounding the bar out. It keeps it outside the least line of resistance, and it becomes a nightmare for them. So, I mean, I've been working with, athletes, and evaluating their lifts. One gal from Denmark right now just gave birth to a baby, and she lifted and cleaned and snatched all the way through, the pattern. Did she keep the bar in the area of the base? Yes. Did she keep the bar close to the body? Hell yes, because that big old belly was out there, right? So, but she still had a lot of fun snatching and cleaning. She didn't do as much as she did when she wasn't pregnant, but the fact was that she stayed within the parameters, keeping the bar within the area of the base. If they go outside the area of the base, then you're just asking for a lot of problems when that bar gets heavy. When the bar's light, I can swing a PVC pipe out and be very successful in the snatch, but I start putting 60, 70, 80 kilos on that bar and I swing it outside the area of the base, then I've got, I'm outside the least line of resistance, and it's going to be hard for me to save that lift.
Awesome. That's helpful, Coach. Thank you.
What was your follow-up, Jason?
So I have a bit of a home gym here. My wife wants to really is all about Ollie lifting. That's the only thing she wants to do. So I wanted to get your main staples to a home Olympic lifting gym. Like, what are the absolute essentials in your mind?
Barbell, bumpers, and squat racks. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. I mean, bumpers because I want to drop the bar. I'm not going to want to tear up my platform. But I grew up on no bumpers. I didn't have bumpers. And I grew up with the rules that once you made a successful lift, you brought it to your shoulders, you brought it to your waist, you had to take it down below the knees, and then you dropped it. And if you missed the lift, then, the bar obviously dropped and it clanged all over the damn place. But, I didn't get to use bumpers until probably 1971 or 72, and then they were a joy to use, basically. But a good set of squat racks, if you can afford them, and if you can't, get an old pot and put concrete in it and get a 2x4 and notch it out and make your damn squat racks. That's what we did back in the day. We didn't have a Rogue or anybody else that would give us, that had squat racks that they made. We just used old-fashioned 2x4s and notched them out and, just put the bar up there.
We had to walk uphill both ways and make our own squat racks. Hey, Coach B, is it Ollie or Oli lifting?
Yeah, I almost corrected him, but I didn't want to be an embarrassment to him.
No. Most people say Ollie these days.
That's absolute bullshit.
I appreciate that. I don't like it. It's
not Ollie lifting. It's Olympic lifting. In fact, if I am honest, I can't even use the word Olympic because that is a term that is owned by the USOC and the IWF. They own that term Olympic. So I can say weightlifting. I can say powerlifting. I can say dumbbell lifting, but weightlifting in the, as I understand it, is meant to be Olympic weightlifting, not Ollie lifting.
Yep. What I heard back in the day is weightlifting, one word, is the sport of, the clean, the jerk, etc. 2 words is like your bodybuilding type of thing. But,
yeah, probably so.
Hey, Renee, I'm happy to read your question. Is it less windy there? Or would you like me to read it? I assume you're saying, okay, I'll read it. She says, question 1, sadly, our gym is losing some great coaches this summer, but that is providing me with the exciting opportunity to take over our Oli club. Sessions are 1 hour each, 3 times a week. Most of our participatory members just enjoy the snatch and clean and jerk and want to get better. I also have a brand new to the gym 10-year-old and 2 to 3 who are interested in starting to compete. Do you have any recommendations on how to balance these wide-ranging needs and levels in one program? So basically, taking over an Olympic lifting program, young kids, adults, how do I handle everybody?
Okay, so you only have an hour. So this sounds like my physical education class, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to, before the class even begins, you're going to have them warm up. And what is a warm up to them? It could be the rower, the bike, it can be jogging, it can be whatever you want it to do. And then before class even starts, you get them to do that junkyard dog. And there's 2 types of junkyard dog. There's the COVID junkyard dog, which I really like. And then there's that typical Bergner junkyard dog that we have. But you have them do that before class even begins. And once the junkyard dog is done, now class can start. And I'm going to start them out every single workout with the Bergner warm-up. And I'm going to have them when I'm going to do a snatch day, which would be Monday. Monday is a snatch day, so I'm going to do a snatch Bergner warm-up and a snatch skill transfer exercise. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get that out of the way. And then Monday, I'm going to snatch. I'm going to have a workout in with snatching, and it might be 3 position snatches. It might be, okay, I want 3 reps from the high hang. I want 2 reps from the hang, and I want 1 rep from the ground. That's 6 total reps, and I'm going to build that up accordingly. But what's going to hold the weight back for me initially is because the high hang, I can't use very much weight. So I'm going to be using and forcing technique on them by doing that workout. So I'm going to start with the snatches and I'm going to end with the front squat. So once I got my warm up in, I'm going to do the 3 position snatches. I'm going to do 5 or 6 sets. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to end up doing front squats. And if I have time, I'm going to do some kind of core exercise. On Wednesday, when I get them, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, except now I'm going to throw in the clean and the jerk. That's what I'm going to throw in. So Monday, Wednesday, Monday snatch, Wednesday clean and jerk, Friday snatch. Now the next week comes in. I'm going to start with the clean and jerk. Wednesday's going to be the snatch. Friday's going to be the clean and jerk. So one day I'm going to get 2 snatches, 1 clean and jerk. The next week I'm going to get 2 clean and jerks and 1 snatch. I'm just going to keep rotating them around and utilizing all the skills and the drills and the exercises that I have to make them better. But I'm never going to negate a 3 position snatch in the beginning. And once the next week comes into play, instead of a 3 position snatch, I'm going to do a 2 position snatch. And that's going to be from the hang and the floor. And then week 3, I'm going to do nothing but the floor. So then week 4, I can do everything from the hang or just whatever I want to do and start over the cycle again. But I'm limited on time. And that's what I did with my PE kids. And it really worked well.
I like it. I think, did that help you, Renee? Let me ask your follow-up question. Selfishly, she says, my son, who will be 13 in a few weeks, will be one of my athletes. The confidence and self-awareness he has built through weightlifting is just astounding. And now he's starting to be interested in competing. I have 1,000 questions on that front, but the one I'll ask is if you have any words of wisdom for a young athlete starting down this road or for his mother.
Yeah, don't get in his path, but be smart. Be there to guide him. First of all, he's going to start getting hair under his armpits and that testosterone is going to start moving in, and he's always going to know more than you, but you are the boss. So just don't forget that, but be there to lovingly guide him in the right direction. Now, having said all that kind of stuff, it's my philosophy that I do barbell exercise or body weight exercises before barbell exercises. You want to make sure that you get him doing push-ups, the squats, the CrossFit type stuff. You want to make sure that you get that, all those basic muscle groups formed and delivered while you're teaching them the right technique, utilizing PVC pipe and then light bars and so on and so forth. And then here's the other thing. I grade on technique. I wrote an article several years ago about the 10-point grading system in allowing an athlete to go heavier. And if an athlete got an 8 or better on my grading system, I counted the weight and I would allow them to go up. However, if they got less than an 8, I didn't count the weight and I wouldn't allow them to go up. So I never graded a weight. I never graded an athlete on how much weight they lifted, but the technique that they achieved. So for an example, Jason and I are competing against each other. Jason weighs 190 pounds. I weigh a svelte 170 pounds. And Jason comes in and he snatches 100 pounds. But I come in and he gets a 10. Perfect technique. Now, me being the better athlete come in and I snatch 150 pounds, but I get a 6. Jason just kicked my ass because he had better technique. Now, so it's going to do one or two things. Number one, it's going to teach me I better get the best technique if I want to beat Jason. And if I do have the best technique, then what's going to happen later on down the road? I'm going to be snatching 200 with great technique. And Jason's going to continue to grow and he may snatch 150, but he's never going to be able to be as strong as I am because I bought into the technique. You as a coach have got to set your established positions on bad technique. And I just didn't allow it. In my teaching, coaching kids, I wouldn't allow bad technique, period.
Can we take that and apply it to CrossFit? Jersey Tony was talking about this the other day, and it's come up multiple times where you have athletes in class that don't necessarily listen to you. You brief it at the whiteboard, or mid-workout, you realize they're not going to finish within a certain time domain or stimulus. How would you take that same principle and apply it to coaching CrossFit? And Renee, I hope did that answer your question? I'm waiting on the armpit hair still.
Well, that I've had that happen several times. And, the beauty of what I do is that I just don't charge anybody. I mean, seriously, people come up to Mike's gym, they come up here and I'm Dai Wee, I'm the boss. I don't give a shit how much you snatch or think you can snatch and whether you're going to listen to me or not. If you're not going to listen, I'm not going to coach you. Am I going to allow you to come up to my gym still? Of course. And I've had several athletes, and one was an Olympian that I fired. I coached him, but he wasn't going to listen. I fired his ass, but he still came up to my gym. And eventually he ended up, okay, coach, I understand. Will you coach me? He came around because he saw that I knew what I was talking about. So Renee, you as a coach have got to absolutely study your butt off, making sure that you have all the proper technique and how to coach down. You have to have a game plan. As a coach, you have to have a game plan on how you're going to teach your athletes and what happens if this athlete does this? What am I going to do? What happens if this athlete does that? What am I going to do? What happens if an athlete misbehaves in my room and uses bad language? What am I going to do? Have your game plan. Do what you mean what you say, and just get it done. If they're not going to listen, they're not going to listen. They're paying you. They're paying to use the gym, but they're not going to listen. Don't waste your damn time.
But okay, one final piece of that. What if you really think they're going to hurt themselves?
Then I wouldn't let them come into my class. If they're going to hurt them, I'm going to counsel them on them hurting themselves, and I'm going to give their money back. Period. I'm not going to leave my gym out in the open there for lawsuits because, because they were stupid. That's why in my class, I teach my athletes how to miss the barbell. The first thing that we do when we come back from lunch after that first day, when we start actually snatching the second part of the day, I teach them how to miss the barbell. How many people in your world teach the athlete when they're snatching and clean and jerk how to miss? And there's never when the barbell's out in front of me, there's not an issue. And I'm standing straight up and down, the bar's in front of me, I throw it down. What happens when the barbell starts going behind me? That's when the issue becomes. So if I teach my athletes how to miss properly, to protect my gym, to protect my liability, I think you have to do exactly the same thing. And if you got an athlete that's not going to miss them, is not going to listen to you. He's going to hurt themselves. You respectively tell them, you guys you're not listening to me. I think you're going to hurt yourself. So here's your money back, and I just find another gym.
You know, Jersey Tony, that's an interesting, right? We talked about it the other day. For all of you that don't own the box, telling your owner like, hey, you want $150 or you want a lawsuit?
Absolutely.
Right? That's an interesting point. Jersey Tony, question?
Yeah. How you doing, Coach B? Thank you again for joining us. So 2 quick questions then. There's this guy who recently posted saying that CrossFit helps save weightlifting. So I wanted to get your take on that. And I guess then follow up, pretty exciting times with the Olympics coming up and weightlifting being so prevalent in it. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And then follow up is,
Great question.
I have an athlete named Roni that usually has that stripper booty action and still rises first from the hips as opposed to shoulders, hips together. Been working some deficit pulls, things like that. But is there any sort of cue that you can use with this athlete to help them?
That's not Jason, is it?
Well,
Probably do that, but he's not referring to me.
yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, CrossFit did absolutely save weightlifting in the United States. No doubt about it.
I didn't say it kind of did. I said it did. Thank you.
Yeah, it did. There's absolutely no question about it. If it wasn't for CrossFit, then weightlifting, I mean, here's a great example. When I was on the board of directors of weightlifting before CrossFit was around, we had maybe 3,000 members, which also included coaches and referees and moms and dads and anybody else that would join weightlifting to bring in funding. And we worked our butts off to try to get the school kids, the elementary schools, the middle schools, the high schools. We tried our best to get those guys involved in developing our program. But it really wasn't until CrossFit came along and the buy-in took place. And I was the one, I'm going to pat myself on the back because I was the guy that started that movement. You know, Glassman got me, came down and took our USA weightlifting level 1 course. And it was absolutely outstanding. And he bought it. Glassman loved the Olympic lifts. He loved what they did. And I went back to the board and told him, I said, you guys ought to realize that CrossFit is going to be our savior. Everybody on that board thought I was a fool, thought I was nuts, and thought I was going to lose my career as a coach in weightlifting. But the opposite took place. And now everybody will tell you that absolutely was the best thing that ever happened to weightlifting. So the second question, the old booty rise. If you go back and look at past YouTube articles, you will see that a guy by the name of Yuri Vardanian from the Soviet Union would absolutely raise his ass up before the bar even broke the ground. And the guy was the greatest weightlifter of all time. So what's the point here? The point is different strokes for different folks. I am going to teach my methods the right way, but if I've got an athlete that's going to snatch 180 kilos, raising his ass up in the air and his back's parallel to the ground, what am I going to say to that guy? Great job. So you want to really pick, I want everything to be the same. That's the way I'm going to teach it all the time. That's what I am going to teach. However, if I see, somebody that has a great deal of technique and I can't break them of that habit, then I'm not going to change them. The juice isn't worth the squeeze to try to change that athlete. Another example is a Rich Froning. Rich Froning bends the bar, bends his elbows, bringing the bar into the hips, and he bangs the bar off the hips, but that bar does not go away from his body. It's still, as Jason said, it's still a gnat's ass away from his body when he pulls himself aggressively underneath the bar and receives it. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but I'm going to work hard on trying to get the athlete to keep everything up in the motion within that least line of resistance. But if there are athletes that raise the butt up too soon and they're very successful, it's like the old jumping back thing. Is it okay for an athlete to jump back? And I just say, yeah, it's okay for the athlete to jump back as long as they bring the bar with them. Do I like it? No, but there's some athletes that are going to jump back and they're still going to be successful. But I've never met an athlete that jumps forward that's been successful. So you got to know when to balance it out.
Thanks, Coach.
You had a third part in there, didn't you, Tony?
No, it was more, I mean,
Mention the Olympics this summer.
yeah, it was just more of a comment, just how it's a pretty fun time for weightlifting. And then with the CrossFit games happening all around the same time, it's just pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great.
Coach Bergner, care to say who you think will win the games this year?
I'll tell you what, who really impresses the heck out of me is Hopper.
Who's that?
From South Carolina, Clemson is his name, Jason Hopper.
Okay. I mean,
I think he's got a lot of talent. He's 23 years old. He's a junkyard dog. He's a former, football player. He knows what it takes, and he's, I really like him. I think he's got a lot of talent.
I mean, Jersey Tony, I know he's high on your list as well. He's got a good shot.
Nowhere near. I'm in awe of these 17-year-olds that are snatching 200 pounds.
The girls.
Yeah, they're athletes to me, Jason. Thank you very much. All right. It's 2021, but I'm just amazed at everyone throwing around this weight, and they weigh 130 pounds.
Well, Jersey, let me tell you something. My first course that I did with Coach Glassman was in Boulder, Colorado. And I had Navy SEALs, Marine Force Recon, I had firefighters, I had police officers. Not one person could do an overhead squat with a PVC pipe. And now you look at what's happening here, it's absolutely astonishing.
Boston
Great
thing. And jumping rope. All the people that were arguing about the jumping rope are nonsense. They would not be jumping rope if not for CrossFit.
Yeah.
Christian.
Hey, Coach B, thanks for being on. We've heard the answer to this question from like CrossFit, but I want to know from you, why does Olympic weightlifting belong in CrossFit and in GPP?
Because it's the most important part of the whole sport of CrossFit. I mean, I hope that's what you heard before, but tell me what's not being worked. I mean, and most of life is done in an explosive manner, or most sport, I should say, is done in an explosive manner, which requires ankle, knee, and hip extension. There's not a better movement pattern than the snatch, the clean, or the jerk that will test that ankle, knee, and hip extension, which carries over to a large extent to, jumping, all of those. I mean, I've never found, other than curling done in the Olympic Games, I'm not sure that I found a sport that isn't done ballistically. So the beauty of CrossFit is that they do challenge you in a lot of different exercises. I love that. But for me personally, my go-to exercises for every sport and everything that I've ever done is the snatch and clean and jerk and the front squat. Front squat's more important to me than the back squat, much more important. And a lot of times I'll do 3 front squats and come in with 1 back squat, or I'll work 3 front squat programs before I'll work 1 back squat program. And their carryover is just too large to ignore.
Could I follow up to that, Jason?
Of course, yeah.
So with that, and I totally agree with you, by the way, I just wanted to hear what you would say. You talked a lot about elite athletes. So going on the other side, why should my grandma be doing these?
Same reason. She's got to get out of a chair. She's got to stand up. What if she has to catch herself falling down? What happens if she has to reach up and grab something? Now, maybe, with her, and it's interesting you're going to ask this. You ask this because in about 45 minutes, I'm going to be working with a gal that's going to go to the games. She's an adaptive athlete. She had a below knee amputation. And this will be the first time that I've ever worked with anybody below the knee amputation. But I'm going to train her exactly the same way that I'd be training you. Exactly the same. But there's a caveat there because I don't know how much drive. She can do an overhead squat. She can do a snatch balance. She can do all that stuff. But remember, I don't believe in pulling. I believe in driving. I may have to change after I watch her and we take, we learn to work with each other a little bit. I may have to change a philosophy with her that will indicate she's only got a 50% leg drive. And I may have to bring in, a lot more upper body, hips and arms, actually, which I don't like doing, but I have to accommodate her with the differences that she has. So, I mean, it's just a different kind. I mean, I'm going to teach grandma how to muscle snatch. I'm going to go through this Bergner warm up with grandma. And I'm going to, grandma may not be able to drive all the way down into a full overhead squat, but she can go down 2 inches. So I just accommodate her with the potential that she has, but I'm not going to treat her any damn different than I would anybody else.
I like it. Yeah, I think, we hear that's probably the biggest criticism is, we don't need these in GPP or grandma shouldn't do them, but absolutely the same thing we've said before. If grandma can snatch, she's less likely to fall down.
Exactly.
How did, you're talking about training these athletes, and I know you mentioned the Geezer Club. How did the COVID impact your garage gym and you guys that work out together?
Initially, it shut my gym down, basically. I mean, March to probably June. And then for me personally, I started looking up the literature and stuff, and we were smart. I told my guys, I said, you can come on up. We're going to do our social distancing. We're going to wipe down every time you use the equipment. You're going to wipe it down. And I said, if you can't deal with that, then don't come up, please. And they were very respectful. And I never made them wear masks, but if they felt comfortable wearing a mask, then we didn't give a shit one way or the other. We let them wear a mask, and that was fine. So eventually, these guys, as time went on, they became a little bit more aware for them, and now it's just, I think we opened up in, like I said, June or July, and probably by August or September, we were 100%. Going right back the way we were before. But even today, we still respect each other and we keep our social distances. We don't have anybody that wears masks, but if they did, we wouldn't care. And we still wipe down the equipment the way it's supposed to be done. It's probably made us more clean, basically.
Over the years, has there been anything that someone's brought to you that they wanted your likeness or attach your name to that you've said no to?
I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that. I'm just a dumbass, basically, is all I am. But I have a passion for teaching Olympic weightlifting, and that's all I care about.
Well, I was just thinking, we were talking about the garage gym setup, and you could probably easily have the Coach B barbell bumper, like the old Ted Williams workout set, right?
Yeah, I would tell you that I guess the biggest thing that people have asked to be able to use is the Bergner warm-up and the skill transfer exercises. We had some posters made that were very successful, but you know how much hard work that is to produce that bullshit? I mean, seriously? I mean, I don't want to do that, and I've had people come up here and I tell them, go ahead and do it. I don't care. Just you got my permission, use it. If you can throw a couple bucks my way, great. And if you can't, that's okay. Have at it and have fun. But I just, there's more important things to me, like teaching the snatch and clean and jerk to grandma than producing a t-shirt and a poster, basically. But thank you very much. That's an honor for you to say that.
How would life be different for you if CrossFit came about in the 60s or 70s?
I'd probably be a gazillionaire instead of a dumbass coach, So,
that's what I was looking for.
Yeah. Well, in the 60s and 70s, when I was young, dumb, and stupid, I probably would have either lost the whole thing or became a gazillionaire, one way or the other.
Yeah. Frederico, is your phone charged? Are you ready for this? Are you going to blow it like last week?
Hi, Coach B. Thanks again for being here. I have 2 questions. The first is, both in the clean and the snatch, where do you think the butt should be in the starting position in relation to the knee and to the scapula?
Well, I think there's 5 points of performance that we use in that starting position. Number one, the first point is always checking the feet. You know, in teaching athletes, and the fundamentals of teaching is always starts with the stance. 90% of all missed lifts are attributed to the feet. That's where it's at. So when I'm going down into my starting position, the first thing I'm going to look at is my positioning under the bar. Where is the weight distributed on my feet? That's number one. Number two, where is the hips related to the knees? So for me, I'm going to have typically my athlete's going to have their feet right underneath their hips, and the weight is going to be distributed on the midfoot, right? And I'm never going to bring the bar to my shins, but I'm always going to bring my shins to the bar. So that allows me to have those hips in a position that is going to be slightly higher than the knees. Although if I have a longer legged athlete, then my hips may be up a little bit higher. But it does follow that second point of performance. Number three, I want the shoulders to be directly over the bar or slightly. I mean, I'm talking about a gnat's ass again in front of the bar. So that's number three. Number four, my back is going to be flat and possibly arched, depending on my anatomy. But that's number four. And number five, I'm going to have my head looking straight ahead. Not down, not up, but my eyes are going to be straight ahead. Now, I found that when I go back and I study under YouTube and look at all these great athletes, all these great lifters, a lot of them, before the bar comes off the ground, may differentiate from those 5 points of performance because they use a dynamic start. But I never teach my beginners ever to use a dynamic start. They're only allowed to do that once that they become more experienced. And what that simply does is the dynamic start allows that athlete to get that stretch reflex. And before they get that stretch reflex coming in, their hips will be below the knees and their torso may be behind the bar. But when that bar comes off the ground, everything is dialed in the way it should be according to those 5 points of performance.
Thanks. Can I ask another question?
Of course.
Yeah. What do you like and what you don't like about Russian school and Chinese school?
Well, I was brought up on the Russian Polish method. I like vertical hips. I like more of the straight line finish, slightly back, never straight line, but slightly back. And I think, you know, the Chinese, God love them, man. These guys, they start their kids at a very young age and they get them doing these drills and they do a lot of GPP with these kids that are very Olympic weightlifting oriented. They're more of the catapult method, if you will. But they're one of the greatest teams to be, you know, challenged at the Olympic Games. They're just outstanding. So I'm not going to badmouth them. I'm just not going to teach it that way. You know, most of the Chinese that I've seen that come out of their schools, hell, if there's anybody above 5'5", I'd like to see them because they're all very short athletes, you know, and so they can really do a lot of different things using the catapult method that maybe a taller athlete wouldn't be able to do. But I found that, you know, using the old adage, hips up, bar up, hips out, bar out, using that philosophy allows me to keep the bar, you know, in the proper path according to Coach B, you know, and according to the Russian Polish method. That's what I was brought up on, and that's what I learned, and that's what I really believe in.
That was good, Christian. That was good.
Thanks.
Christian said I might have a good chance as a Chinese lifter. Kelsey.
Hey, quick question. So I have an athlete that every time he either power cleans or cleans, when he makes contact with the bar, when he goes to receive the bar, it like bangs into his shoulders. Like every time. Like I've tried every cue that I could think of. Even when it's heavy, I'm like, how do you even do that when it's heavy? He like flicks his wrists around. So I was just wondering if you had any like cues or drills for that.
Yeah, first of all, I'd check his grip. I'm one of these guys that most guys want to do upright rows. They love that. It's a bodybuilding exercise. They love the way that makes them feel. In Olympic weightlifting, if you pull in with your arms, you're in bad shape. And so what ends up happening with an athlete that is allowing the bar to crash on them, their elbows are extremely slow, is what ends up happening. So I've got to do drills that are going to allow those elbows to learn to come around really quick. The other thing is that I've got to teach this athlete to go to the bar and not go to the hole. Whether they're cleaning or not, it doesn't make any difference. If I've got an athlete that's power cleaning, remember a power clean is anything received above parallel, right? So if this athlete is receiving the bar and is crashing on him, whether it's a full clean or a clean or a power clean, makes no difference. Their elbows are slower than hell. And one of the reasons their elbows are slow is because their grip is way too narrow. My daughter is real tiny. She takes a 2-thumb grip from the knurling, right? And it just, that idea of a wider grip takes away from that athlete trying to pull the bar up. And that wider grip allows me the speed of the elbows to get to the bar. And then the drills that I would use for that after I've widened the grip are simply called tall cleans. And I do tall power cleans and I do tall cleans. And I teach that athlete to go to the bar. So in a tall clean, all they're doing is standing straight up and down, and there is no leg drive. The only thing they have is a shoulder drive, if you will, and then a pull as their feet slide out to receive that bar in that landing position. That is where they're going to get the speed and the knowledge to go to the bar. You cannot pull a barbell up if my feet are off the ground. So I've got to teach those athletes to slide their feet out. And when that timing comes in of sliding the feet out, they're pulling on the bar. So you're getting your initial leg drive in a normal clean and snatch against the ground. The power source is the ground, but once that your feet start sliding, the power source changes to the barbell. And that's where you're getting your speed. So the wider grip, working tall cleans, tall power cleans first, and then tall cleans teaches that athlete to go to the bar and not the hole. They're automatically going to the hole, automatically. And I will bet you as the weight gets heavier, that athlete still does not receive the bar at a different depth. They will receive the bar always at that same depth in a power clean. And you got to teach them to go to the bar, the period. Is that hard? Hell yes, it's hard. It's harder than hell. Will they get impatient? Yes, they will. But you know, that's there again, you're the coach. Tell them to do what the hell you want them to do.
Thank you.
Sim.
Good question.
Hey, Coach B.
Or Ben, that's fine. Go ahead, Ben.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm in the Geezer Club right here with you.
Geezer.
Yeah. Hey,
remember Geezer's rule.
Do what?
Geezer's rule.
Damn right. Listen, I took your class about 8 years ago, and I had the advantage of being able to go to USA Youth Nationals a couple of times, and I owe it all to you. And I just want to say thank you. I just listened to what you say, and I studied a lot of your attitude and your demeanor of the way you coach, and I really appreciate what you're doing. And that's really all I had. I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. That kind of stuff really means a lot. I appreciate it very much.
It's an awesome experience. An awesome experience.
No one cry on this call. No crying. Sim, you ready this time, Sim?
Yep. I thought I heard someone else.
Okay.
Good. So my question was, first of all, hi, Coach B. My question was, like in CrossFit, we look for an equal combination of safety, efficacy, and efficiency. Is there any priority order in weightlifting? Of
course, it's the same thing. I mean, you got to be safe in a weight room. I mean, you can't be a dumbass in a weight room. I mean, if a kid's going to be stupid and they're going to hurt themselves, then You know, I've got to address that. You know, just like you do in a physical education teaching class, it's exactly the same. You know, in my world of teaching my course, that whole Bergner course, the purpose of the course is to teach athletes and coaches how to teach or perform the snatch, the clean, and the jerk in a safe, efficient, and effective manner. That is my goal and objectives. And that whole course is designed based on safe, efficient, effective manner. Safety is the primary reason that we teach our curriculum the way we teach it.
I love it, Katie. Thanks for adding the fun. Coach Bergner clearly has that mixed in there as well. Sim, did that answer your question?
Yep. Yes, it did.
Any other questions before we begin to let Coach B go about his day? Early in Cali. What do you got, Christian?
So we've talked a lot about like early polling and a lot of the different things that are going on with the lifts. And one of the things that I have issues with, and I'm sure everybody else does with the newer athletes, is the timing of it all. How do you develop athletes, making sure they're exploding their hips before they pull, they're getting under the bar at the right time? How do you organize all of that?
Again, it's just a fundamental idea. I'm not going to let them, my athletes never snatched for 18 weeks because I work drills and skills with them. Now, in your world of working at a CrossFit gym, that's not going to be able to happen. But in my world, I could make that happen. But then again, getting right back down to the verbiage or the nomenclature of what the clean is all about, the snatch is all about. Again, I hate the word pull because pull it just tells you I'm going to pull. I would rather have leg drive, velocity. Those are the terms that need to be given to those athletes to create that velocity on the barbell. And I like to bring out little tools like the jump rope. I have a jump rope with a weight at the bottom of it. And that jump rope indicates those are my arms, my hips, my feet, my legs. And when I go down to load and I jump, what happens to that weight? It comes up, it becomes weightless. That's exactly the same thing that I'm trying to get my athletes to understand. And then again, meeting the bar where it is a tough drill. So, I've been successful doing that sometimes, and then I've been not successful doing it. So if I have an athlete that I've had that's not successful in meeting that bar and the bar crashes on them, then that athlete will get a double dose of front squat Zotz presses. And I don't know if you know what that is, but you're going down in a front squat using the clean grip. And while you're in the front squat with your ass that far from the ground, ass to grass, you're doing presses in that position. And that works that whole posterior chain. Works that thoracic area amazingly, and the lumbar area as well. So it's going to make me strong in that position, more confident in that position. So if in fact I can't get you to meet the bar where it is and the bar is going to crash on you, I'm going to be extremely strong in that position. So I'll be able to receive the bar adequately and not injure myself.
One last question, Jason.
All right, Coach B. So I have an athlete who is she's in her, I think her mid 50s, bone on her knees. She loves Olympic weightlifting, like lights up every time it's programmed at the gym. But that being said, jumping is kind of out of the question. She actually has it kind of figured out. She's got it dialed in where she can do 30 full squats before the knees really just are done. So given that, jumping is really an essential, part of weightlifting, I'm trying to think of ways that we can help her develop and advance given her limitations. So I just kind of want to get your 2 cents on what are some things I might be able to give her and help her with so she can continue to enjoy the sport.
Yeah, I think you're right on. For her as a 50-year-old, she's not going to go to the Olympic Games. I don't know if she's going to go to the CrossFit Games or not, but the idea of her being safe in her weight room and having a good time is the most important priority. However, I will tell you, if I had a 50-year-old that has the knees, having gone through my second knee replacement, I will tell you that I would probably have that athlete doing split cleans, split snatches. It's a little bit, it's less invasive on the knees, so to speak. And then I will tell you another, there's a guy on Instagram that is called Toes Over the Knee Guy.
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen that or not,
Yeah,
but
he's good. Yeah.
he is outstanding. And I think I'm going to hire him, actually. Yeah, I'm a geezer. I'm 75 and I've got 2 knee replacements. And the stuff that he's talking about just makes absolute sense to me. And I would, as a 50-year-old that's still doing this stuff, I would absolutely go to Toes Over the Knee Guy, and I would follow him and look. And he's got 3 different programs. One's called the Zero Base program, and it's not it's done without weight at all, and it just works a lot of the anterior tibialis. There's so much stuff that I've learned in the last 3 weeks from following him. And I've asked him personal questions as well, and they always get back to you. He is out freaking standing.
That guy's really interesting. I'll definitely, thanks for posting that, Katie. One last question, Coach B, as we wrap up. Obviously, for some of us, our best lifting days are behind us. How do you change your mindset knowing that?
Well, I want your egos to be as big as the world. I want you to think you can do that. But if you're going to be a dumbass, you're going to hurt yourself. So, I mean, I quit being a dumbass about a year ago when I was 74. So I mean, now I'm 75, so I'm smart again, right? It's just you'll figure it out or you'll kill yourself, one of the two. So, I mean, it took me a long time to figure this stuff out. And remember, I think I told you this the last time, I've made every freaking mistake in the book you could ever make. My life has not always been peaches and cream, believe me. Have I always been a dumbass? Yes, I have. But at 75, I finally figured out I don't want to be a dumbass anymore. So I want to go out and have fun. I still do my push-ups, my sit-ups. I do muscle snatches instead of regular snatches because they don't hurt. What I mean? But if I'm going to work with Jason Ackerman, I'm going to kick his ass.
Well, I appreciate that. I got a few years before I have to get smart then. One last piece. What's your piece of advice? Since our last call, I have a baby. Speaking of kicking my ass, she's doing that. What's you've done a great job, at least from the outside. What's your piece of advice?
Family first, brother. Family first. Always, always, always. I've got 6 grandkids. I've just had Cody, my 3rd son, just had a baby. My son, Bo, my 2nd son, is getting ready to have a baby. His wife's getting ready to have a baby in Portugal in August. And I will tell you, there's nothing better than family. Absolutely.
Well, I think that's a great way to wrap things up. I think everyone on this call can appreciate that. These guys are, how you do one thing is how you do anything. And I think these guys put a lot of effort, time, energy, passion, heart, etc. into coaching. And I have no doubt they all put the same into their family. And I've seen it firsthand. So you guys are great. Coach B, it's always a pleasure having you on. I'll see you in a month or so in Madison. And you guys, you know the drill. Say goodbye to Coach B, and then I'll log you off. Thank you so much for coming back on.
So you never miss an episode of the podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel and on all major podcasting platforms at Best Hour of Their Day. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being a part of the best hour of our day. See you next time.